Hi, René here. In the following episode, I'm going to compare the brand new Borresen X6 with an old warrior, the PBN Montana Sammy. Are we at the dawn of a new age, or is it all old wine in new bottles? The test was performed with the same JD's JP30 JA30 amps that I have at home, because using dream components whose sonic profile I don't know and which I never will be able to afford anyway does not make any sense. The power supply was controlled by an Ansutz Mainz and Ansutz wiring. My test CDs were played by a Luxman D07X player. Look at the photo and you will concede that the two pairs of speakers seem to come from totally different planets. The X6 rises 164 centimeters from the floor and overtops the PBN, which measures only 140 centimeters in height by 24 centimeters. Like all Borresen models, it sports a super slender silhouette with a width of only 38 centimeters in contrast to the PBN, which states to have a breadth of 43 centimeters, but due to the fact that it has a round shape, it adds more and more centimeters the closer you come to the diameter line. With a depth of 53 centimeters, its footprint is almost on par with the 56 centimeters of the X6. All these measurements are not very helpful and rather conceal the fact that the two speakers seem to stem from different design planets. For the eye, the PBN simply looks imposing and beefy, and the X6 rather like a shot-up asparagus spear or a casually reclined hop pole. The black or white high-gloss coating with the anthracite front panel makes it look cool and modernist, while the Montana boasts traditional dignified wood design, without going for a show-off of wood grain artistry with hypnotical supergloss effects. And while the X6 leans backwards in geometric lines, the PBN sports bold lines because of the recessed edges in the middle part. Its inner workings demonstrate a steadfast determination to eliminate all kinds of vibrations. The countless CEC cut slices, which peep through the skimpy coat of unpretentious black color, drive the weight up to 100 kilograms. The X6 cabinets, which are not made in Denmark but in nearby China, put only 79 kilograms on the scale, are effectively stiffened out as well. Otherwise, Borresen's concept of resonance removal would not work. Unfortunately, music lovers don't sit behind the speakers because that's the most elegant view to behold. The wing of a skylark and a series of 9 ports in a row reminiscent of a UFO that's just passed by. Both rivals don't have a second pair of terminals, so you have to forget about bi-wiring or bi-amping. Bass freaks should therefore carefully decide what kind of power amplifier they will use to drive them. It should be a champion for the reproduction of high and mid-range as well as for the low end. The good news is, however, that both pairs are not very demanding. The X6 asks for a minimum of 50 watts and the PBN is even more moderate with a starting point of 25 watts. but can handle 500 watts if you have such a power plant at hand. The efficiency is great with both. The X6 delivers 89 dB and goes down to 30 Hz, and the PBN 92 dB and dives as deep as 24 Hz. Is this comparison going to be a showdown between Denmark and America concerning nationally influenced sound and design philosophies? The X6 undeniably reflects the trends of the audio group Denmark, while the PBN shows off the indigenous, meaty and masculine design of many other USA brands, which is totally misleading because, as a matter of fact, the mastermind behind PBN is Peter Nørbeck, and he, would you have guessed it, comes from Denmark, but he preferred to live and work in sunny California. The Danes somehow seem to be born with high-end genes in their blood. The Borresen, dug deep in sometimes subdued layers, produced many surprising details and conjured up some a smile on my lips or an appreciative nodding of my head. Wow, that's a better way of rendering this. Or, great, I've never noticed these hidden sounds before. The Montanas, on the other hand, played straightforward, unsophisticated and unspectacular, almost with musical stoicism. After some time I noticed that the layer of added refinement with the X6 was not something artificial, it was the presentation of notes the competitors often suppress like unwanted side effects. After so many preparatory remarks, it's time to talk about music and how it sounded. Mulata Linda by Brenda Navarrete is a revealing test track. For the studio recording, they must have aligned quite a number of players of hollow wooden instruments so that the stage is loaded with the clickering, clattering sounds of maracas and castanets and salvos of congas. If these effects escape the control of the setup, it can become a nerve-wracking chaos, but I found pleasure visualizing each and every hand with such a wooden instrument. The choir girls should be clearly located in the background. The X6, with its lickety-split reaction, was better prepared to nail this array of dynamic micro-explosions down than the PBN. In the Albanese composition Faites Dieu à Seville, there is an orchestral supernova exploding at 120 and 420 minutes, which breaks the neck of some speaker and its owner's heart, while a battalion of woodwinds in the very background creates a wall of sound. Directly in front of it, the orchestra, depicting the tumult of the celebrating crowds, raises a sonic hell which is still intensified by a number of glockenspiel players. This almost cacophonous chaos throws cascades of whirling sounds into the air, and it is a sheer wonder when a speaker can deliver all that to the listener with a reasonable timing. And still, both speakers managed to do that, but the X6, with its pair of 4.5-inch middle-range chassis per channel, was able to separate the layers with magic panes of glass, which prevented the slices of sound to collapse into each other. The PBN had a hard time to keep things in balance with its two 4-inch ScanSpeak illuminators supporting the beryllium tweeter, which sets in at 3400 Hz. This group of chassis is fine, but also responsible for the slightly recessed soundstage, which I was able to get used to after some time, but it did not have the embracing charm of the X6, which easily sucks you into the musical event on the stage. Jacques Lucier's recording of the Prestissimo movement, Bolero 7 by Ravel, was lifted to a higher level by the 8 woofers, 4 on each side, of the X6. Overwhelming how the bass lines were separated from the lower chords on the piano and how they moved, each with its own powerful expression side by side without interfering. The Montanas could not present this race with so much airiness and effortlessness. In Duruflé's Requiem, not in the orchestrated version, but in the original version for organ and boys' choir, the Borresen was able to elicit organ bass notes in the Pie Jesu movement, which I had last heard so convincingly long time ago on my Infinity IRS beta speakers. I have always been a fan of huge woofers with huge magnets, but it looks as if Borresen was able to equally distribute the bass to 4 4.5-inch woofers per channel and to achieve a seamless reproduction nevertheless. To produce such a slamming bass, the two 10-inch ScanSpeak woofers, type Revelator, had to struggle hard. Maybe the bigger Super Sammy or the MR777 with 18-inch woofers, which Steve Guttenberg presented in this video, would regain the upper hand, but that is a different price class. And that's my keyword to talk about price tags. The X6 is offered online for $22,000. The PBN, when it was still in the catalog, had a retail price of $30,000. Insofar I can understand that the Borresen is still called a bargain. When we consider that the PBN was launched 15 years ago and is now discontinued, and the X6 is a brand new state-of-the-art speaker, the decision which one to buy is not difficult. But if you are on a tight budget, there is a different way to become happy. The Montana Sammy is still a speaker to be heeded. In regards to the inflationary development on the high-end market, it can sometimes be easier to spoil yourself buying second-hand devices, which can take you 2 or even more steps higher for a fraction of what you have to put on the counter for the latest high-tech, if you are willing to be satisfied at a lower level. Good luck to the bargain hunters.